TomoNews presents Taiwan versus China. China forces Taiwanese K-pop star Zhou Ziyu to apologize. There is only one China! And thank God Taiwan isn't a part of that hellhole of a dictatorship. China is easily butthurt. So when images of 16-year-old Taiwanese K-pop star Zhou Ziyu surfaced of her waving a flag of Taiwan on a South Korean television show, they of course lost it. Chinese internet users demanded that she and her band Twice be banned from performing in China. So what did Zhou's South Korean management company, JYP Entertainment, do? They made her film a lame ISIS-esque forced apology video. In the video, Zhou says, "The two sides of the strait are one, and I have always felt proud to be Chinese." She then apologizes, while saying she will halt her China activities and go through some serious reflection. Zhou's pathetic manager, Park Jin-young, also apologized. Naturally, China's plan completely backfired and only sent more Taiwanese to the polls over the weekend when they elected the DPP's Tsai Ing-wen as president and gave the DPP a majority in the legislature for the first time ever, in a landslide victory over the China-loving KMT. Taiwan #1!
Taiwanese head to the polls to elect their next president. In a true testament to democracy, Taiwanese hit the polls in force on Saturday and elected their next president, as well as a new legislature. Of the more than 18 million plus eligible voters, a whopping 40% of them this time around were under the age of 40. This year's presidential election was a three-way race between the DPP's Tsai Ing-wen, the KMT's Eric Chu, and the PFP's James Soong. In reality, it was more like a two-way race with the PFP just along for the ride. Incumbent President Ma Ying-jeou has played nothing but the China card with promises of good times to come for Taiwan since getting into office. 8 years on, the economy is in the doldrums, and the only positive thing is the KMT loves sucking up to China. Democracy may not be the most efficient form of government, but at least you can hit the reset button every once in a while. Say hello to the first female president in Taiwan's history, Tsai Ing-wen.
China's air-headed air defense zone pisses off the neighbors. China has declared an air defense identification zone over much of the East China Sea, including the disputed Diaoyutais. The move alters the status quo and conflicts with Japan and South Korea's own. The Chinese Defense Ministry has said that military aircraft must report a flight plan, maintain two-way radio communications, identify themselves, and respond in a timely and accurate manner. China says it will adopt defensive emergency measures in response to aircraft that do not cooperate or refuse to follow its lame and ridiculous instructions, which no one will agree to. China just wants to test the world. Its greed is boundless. It probably even has its eye on the new volcanic island that formed in Japanese waters last week. What do you think?
Beijing angered as U.S. approves frigate sale to Taiwan. China has lodged a protest with the United States after the U.S. State Department authorized the sale of 2 Perry-class Navy frigates to Taiwan for $190 million. The Oliver Hazard Perry-class guided missile frigates, which have a maximum speed of 30 knots, were built during the 1970s and 80s. The frigate is equipped with the Oto Malera Mk-75, a naval gun that can fire a range of 12 kilometers and close-in weapon Raytheon Mk-13, as well as 4 machine guns. It also has a missile system capability with the Boeing Harpoon surface-to-surface missiles and Raytheon Standard SM-1MR surface-to-air missiles. The ship is equipped with the Alliant Tech Systems Mk-46 torpedoes and Mk-50 torpedo. The frigate can accommodate 2 Sikorsky SH-60B Seahawk helicopters and is able to provide the aircraft with data on range, bearing, and identification. For countermeasures, the frigate is equipped with SRBOC Mk-36 decoy dispensers and the BAE Systems Australia Mk-53 Nulka active expendable decoys, which can protect it against radar-guided anti-ship missiles. The rest of the sale allegedly includes $375 million worth of amphibious assault vehicles, Javelin anti-tank missiles, 250 FIM-92 Stinger man-portable air defense systems, and other weapons including anti-ship missile defense systems.
Chinese students kicked out of Harvard Model UN conference for having a meltdown. Here's a group of kids that knows how international politicians really behave. Several Chinese students were reportedly kicked out of the Model UN conference at Harvard University when they threw a hissy fit over the conference's listing of Taiwan as a country rather than a Chinese region. China, aka the People's Republic of China, has more than 1,500 missiles pointed at Taiwan, also known as the Republic of China, in case the latter tries to further its independence. But the so-called printing error at the convention was just too great of a threat. The students demanded a reprinting of 3,000 brochures, which the committee refused. They did offer the team stickers to fix their own brochures. But what is this, high school? Oh, right. The students said that wasn't good enough, and after making just enough of a scene, they got sent home, and swiftly hopped on their laptops to lambast America in general on the interwebs. Well, better luck next year?
Taiwan police violently evict protesters from cabinet office. Dozens of people were arrested and more than 150 injured as protesters in Taiwan's capital clashed with riot police in the early hours of Monday. The violence represents a dramatic escalation in a days-old student-led protest over a controversial trade pact with China. Armed with batons and shields, Taipei riot police forcefully evicted hundreds of protesters from Taiwan's cabinet building by dawn. Using a combination of water cannons and baton strikes, authorities dragged demonstrators one by one out of the government building, which they had broken into mere hours earlier. Shouting, quote, "No more police brutality," defiant protesters locked arms and legs in a failed attempt to prevent their eventual eviction. The assault came after President Ma Ying-jeou, in a half-hour press conference Sunday morning, called on students to end their occupation of Taiwan's legislature, denouncing it as, quote, "illegal." Ma refused to break down from the far-reaching trade pact with China, calling the deal vital for Taiwan's economy. The pact, which was signed by representatives from Taipei and Beijing in June, awaits ratification by Taiwan's legislature, which has been occupied by protesters since last Tuesday.
Madonna wears Taiwan flag in concert. Madonna, who's pretty much the godmother of pop stars wearing controversial outfits, has done it again. She rocked a concert in Taipei Thursday night draped in a Taiwanese flag. Some might say, so what? Who cares if she wears a country's flag during a concert? China cares. That's who. The Taiwanese flag is a symbol of independence for the Taiwanese people, and waving it around is like a little FU to the communists on the other side of the Taiwan Strait, who think the democratic island is part of China. Madonna even added a photo on Instagram featuring a symbol that's more than familiar in Taiwan. The problem is that it's not Taiwan or Taipei's symbol. It's actually the symbol of the Kuomintang or KMT party, who are responsible for the white terror inflicted upon the Taiwanese people in 1947. We'll give Madonna the benefit of the doubt and not call her out too much on the symbol mix-up. It's still pretty awesome that she rocked the flag in concert. And we doubt the diva will be apologizing anytime soon like the Taiwanese-born K-pop star Cho Tzu-yu was forced to do.
Mr. meeting between President Ma and dictator Xi is a match made in heaven. As far as lame ducks go, Taiwan's President Ma Ying-jeou is by far the lamest. Mr. Ma has done nothing but seek closer ties with China in a promise that the commies would solve Taiwan's economic problems. 8 years on, the only thing that's positive is Chinese tourists suck. Ma's KMT ran out of China like cowards after losing the civil war to the CCP. Only to come to Taiwan and continue their corrupt, incompetent existence. Thank God Taiwanese people developed democracy in spite of them and are now ready to vote the KMT out. Which brings us to the surprise summit between Ma and dictator Xi Jinping Saturday in China-loving Singapore. Beijing is delusional if it thinks it can influence Taiwan voters with a meeting where the two leaders will address each other as Mr. rather than President. The Mr. meeting will be nothing more than a glorified photo shoot. Followed by a lovely dinner and possibly a scenic stroll to take in some of Singapore's toxic haze. The only thing historic about the meet will be the continued historically bad reporting by Western media on Taiwan. Well, at least Mr. Ma will have a pleasant welcome waiting for him when he gets back to Taiwan. As for Mr. Xi, the Taiwanese have a message for him too.
U.S. arms deal with Taiwan worth $1.83 billion. For the first time in 4 years, the Obama administration has authorized an arms package for Taiwan. The U.S. Congress was notified on Wednesday of $1.83 billion in arms being sold to the country of Taiwan. The package consists of a variety of military equipment, including 2 missile frigates, 36 amphibious vehicles, 13 ship defense systems, Javelin-guided missiles, and Stinger missiles, among other support. If China and Taiwan's military faced off, China could devote 400,000 troops out of 1.24 million ground forces at their disposal, compared to 215,000 of Taiwan's full-time troops. China views Taiwan as a renegade province, and the United States is also committed to a one-China policy, meaning the Republic of China is not seen as sovereign by the U.S. In response to the arms deal, China has said they are imposing sanctions against the contractors who supplied the weapons, including Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. Under the Taiwan Relations Act, the Obama administration has authorized previous sales notifications totaling over $12 billion. U.S. forces are obligated by law to defend the island of Taiwan in the case of an attack by China or anyone else.
Chinese official visiting Taipei gets less than friendly reception. The director of Shanghai's Municipal Committee United Front Work Department, Xia Hailin, arrived in Taipei on Monday to attend the annual Twin City Forum between Taipei and Shanghai. And when he got there, he was welcomed by many pro-Taiwan independence protesters. During the forum, Xia is expected to meet with Taipei Mayor Ing-wen. The event was first held in 2010 and has been held annually since then. Protesters were angered by Mayor Ke's reception of Xia and blamed him for selling out Taiwan.
台北市不要变成统战城市，台北市不要变成统战的窗口，请柯市长好自为之。
China has officially stopped communications with Taiwan since Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen's inauguration in May. Tsai has refused to acknowledge the 1992 consensus, which is an agreement that China says means both sides recognize there is only one China. Some Taiwanese Facebook users defiant of China's claim over Taiwan say they'll accept the One China agreement if China agrees to surrender to Taiwan. Other supporters of Taiwan independence say Taiwan has never been owned by China and that China should actually be considered a part of Taiwan.
Taiwan flag-raising ceremony complicates relations. This is Twin Oaks, the former resident of ROC ambassadors from Taiwan and Washington, D.C. Last week, during a New Year's Day ceremony, Taiwanese officials raised the country's flag on U.S. soil for the first time in 36 years. The ceremony was attended by over 100 people, but was met with anger from China. The self-governed island nation of Taiwan has not been allowed to raise its national flag on U.S. soil since 1979, after the U.S. recognized China and agreed to support its One China policy, which claims Taiwan as a renegade province of China. U.S. officials denied any knowledge of the flag raising, and despite the fact that the flag was raised on private property, U.S. officials have requested that Taiwanese officials refrain from a repeat performance. U.S. officials in both Washington, D.C. and the U.S. office in Taipei echoed the denials and requests about the flag raising. Some say the flag raising was a show of strength or as an attention getter for U.S.-Taiwan relations. Nevertheless, China's noisy displeasure over a little flag raising goes to show how sensitive the Asian behemoth is to a little prick from their democratic neighbor.
Taiwanese students continue to protest trade pact with China despite heavy rain. 3 weeks into the student-led sit-in protest at Taiwan's parliament against the contentious trade pact with China, the crowd has shrunk as the weather turned bad. At around 11 p.m. on Sunday, several containers were called in to protect logistics at the protest site from the pouring rain. As stormy weather worsened at around midnight, students were camping out on the street, hurried to seek shelter at nearby buildings. Despite the weather, at least 200 students remained at the site. Many wrapped themselves in blankets as they slept on the street. A female college student, whose determination to guard the nation's democracy would not falter, was pictured sitting alone against bone-chilling winds.